Hello, we are live here and welcome to this Adnexi live stream. My name is Sandra Shpilberg and I'm the founder and CEO of Adnexi, a disease intelligence platforms for patients and biopharma. We hold these live streams to learn more about this crucial relationship between biopharma and its stakeholders, including patients. And today my guest is Luke Rosen. Luke is the founder of KIF1A.org, a foundation that he started after his child was diagnosed with this disease, a rare neurological disease. This organization works to rapidly support the discovery and development of treatment for children living with KIF1A. So the main topic for our discussion is this collaboration between advocacy groups, academic researchers, and biotech, especially when the clock is ticking. So Luke, welcome to our live stream.
Sandra, thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it.
It's awesome for you to be on this. And I want to start at the beginning. So why don't you tell me more about how you began this journey into patient advocacy?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. You know, I didn't have anything to really do with science or patient advocacy or certainly rare disease until 2016, when our daughter, Susanna, who's now 6 and was 2 at the time, was diagnosed with a very rare genetic condition called KIF1A, associated neurological disorder, or CAND. And when Susanna was diagnosed, we knew of maybe 25 people in the world who had this. We could find it in literature. And my wife and I remember very specifically being in the room when the doctor told us what this was, and after 2 years of having no clue what was happening, and everybody was stumped. And when the doctor told us, there's no cure or no treatment, we thought, well, how can that be? What do we have to do? How do we change that? And she said, and I'll never forget this, she said, you have to find 100 kids. And so we set out to find 100 kids so we could have a sort of clinical picture of the disease. We knew that there were probably, likely, and now we know, thousands of people out there with this disease. But we, so then my wife and I, we started the foundation, and I stopped working and went with the foundation full time. We then quickly started finding other people started finding us with this disease. We went to as many genetic testing companies and what are CAP-CLIA certified labs, which are the labs where people end up getting these diagnoses after the right genetic tests. And we asked them to put our website as a resource for people when they get this diagnosis. So soon thereafter, an incredible woman and mother of Parker, Catherine Ashley, reached out and said, we found the website and our kid had this diagnosis too. So Kat is the president of the foundation now. She runs day to day, and that's how we started. And today we have a really robust preclinical research program at Columbia University. And we have 350 families about that we know of, which is incredible, and it's growing every single day. Our research initiatives are so strong. We've had different labs and different groups publish papers and complete studies. In fact, just 4 of them in the last 3 months. So we're growing as a community, and we're, just somebody once said this, and I repeat myself, but it's so true. We're a very blue collar foundation, working class. We started with lemonade stands and phone calls and looking up every single author on any paper where KIF1A was even remotely mentioned, and beating down their door until they called us back. So that's how we started.
Yeah, thank you for that. A few areas I want to pick on there. I want to go a little bit deeper. So what does it feel like when a doctor tells you you need to find 100 more people like your daughter in order for us to do anything?
So it depends on the doctor, I think. And we were amazingly fortunate in that I should go back and say that the doctor didn't say, you need to find 100 people. The doctor said, I'm with you here and I will do whatever it takes to help you find 100 people.
Right.
So we just, we lived up in Harlem, and our kids were both born at Columbia, got our care at Columbia, got our stitches at Columbia, everything. Susanna was born at Columbia. And we just happened to end up in Wendy Chung's office, who is the head of genetics at Columbia, and the woman who is she calls herself our Sherpa, our foundation Sherpa. She helps us up this mountain. And when she said that she would help us and guide us in finding and really galvanizing a community together, that was pretty incredible. So it was more encouraging than it was daunting. It was certainly daunting, but we knew that there was some avenue. And then we found people like Nicole Boyce and the people at Global Genes and Kendall and all of these advocates who, when I went to them and said, what do I do? There was actually an answer of how to start this. And so it was, Carrie Austria, Stephanie, all of this tight community that once we found them, the landscape of rare disease, while terrifying and horrific, is navigatable. And then we realized we had to kind of reinvent some things and do them differently, which is what our foundation does, but certainly couldn't do it without the help of other advocates. So.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you for clarifying that, because I think if another parent out there, with a child with a rare disease gets told, well, let's find 100 more, that's really sort of your call to action to begin to build the amazing stuff that you guys have built now at kif1a.org. I've been on the website. It's so full of resources, and it really comes across, as a very organized effort where the families are really now moving the needle, right? You're moving. So why is it important to collaborate between patient advocacy and the researchers and biopharmaceutical companies?
Yeah, and so that's such a great question. I think that, one point I'll make about how we were able to jumpstart things quickly is and this is different from, certainly other families' experiences in different parts of the world, country certainly, is that when we were told about Susanna's diagnosis, it wasn't just one doctor in the room. There was a genetic counselor, a social worker, and the doctor. So we were very supported, and that was something that was unique. But I think the point of your question about where does this all loop in and how does the relationship help, I think that we had to certainly look at everything that existed in many ways and just do it the opposite way, right? So we because we felt this urgency and this pressure, we didn't have any time for, I became very good at asking for help, and therein lies the difference between patient advocacy and patient engagement. They're two totally different things, right? Yeah. And then I think that when a foundation can push an entire community forward to find certain preclinical needs in the very beginning, like a natural history study, like a registry, like you have these tools that a foundation is taught and is guided to build through people like Global Genes and NORD and all of these wonderful places that have these intact. And then you usually do that by collaborating with an academic researcher or a university of some kind. And then what, right? And then, so there's this gap, and the gap is biotech, right? The gap is translation. So it's the picture of translational, research and medicine, really, when you can take that advocacy and that group and make these tools with preclinical academic researchers, and the tools need to be completely geared and powered towards accelerating translation, right? So our goal was to really eliminate that gap between preclinical and foundational work and when biotech comes in and translates it. And so we kind of, the foundation's tactic there was to, with guidance of biotech, right? There's some really wonderful, incredible teams out there, and I work for one too. And one of those things where you just tighten everything up and incorporate patient engagement, caregiver engagement into everything, designing protocols, but way before that, right? It starts when our foundation would tried to track down every single biotech that had a neuroscience department.
Right.
And we said, we're trying to make it so easy for you what do you have to lose? Here's our natural history data. Here are our cell lines. Make everything completely publicly available to the scientific community. We're going to tee it up for you. Can you just give it a shot?
Yes.
So that's the translation and the engagement.
That is so good that your organization is taking care of that, right? Because I think that you are speeding up that process of beginning drug development or cure development by decades, probably, right? If your organization has taken care of organizing the patients, getting data from them, right, and then getting them on board, right, to participate in whatever future research would take place. So thank you for that. We have a couple of people watching us, which is great. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll get them from you, or any comments that you want to share. So next, Luke, I saw an article that you wrote about starting the KIF1A.org Foundation. And I read this article and it really stirred something in me. So is it okay for me to read a paragraph from your article?
Oh, please. Thank you.
Okay, great. So this is what you wrote. A large part of the dialogue revolves around numbers, cost, and the seemingly unscalable mountain standing in the way of getting treatment for our kids before time runs out. Sally and I wake up every morning with a fleeting moment of forgetfulness, forgetting for a split second that our daughter has a degenerative disease with no treatment or cure yet. What we would give for that fleeting moment to last a lifetime, but it doesn't. Before the alarm goes off at 4:45 a.m., that moment is gone, and we're acutely aware that Susanna's clock is ticking. When we woke up yesterday to see KIF1A in the Wall Street Journal, we were relieved and thankful. Maybe today the world will notice Susanna and the other children. Maybe today people will see the epic unmet need in our community. Oh my God, that really moved me. Every time I read it, it moves me so much. And I love your comments on this.
Thanks, Sandra. Thanks for reading that. That was, it's true, because at the end of the day, in all of our rare disease communities, not just ours, every parent, at least for us, there are these wonderful moments with our children, no matter how sick they are, no matter how confused we all are about what's going on and whether or not there's available treatment or not. You have beautiful moments with your children, and then you go to bed, and Susanna often has seizures in the middle of the night. So at the time that I wrote that, we were dealing a lot with that, and but there was a moment when things settled down, and those very rare moments where I can actually wake up next to my wife when she's not, or when I'm not, or one of us is not sleeping with Susanna. And you wake up and there's this every morning there's this tick of forgetting that, we're on this path that needs to be fixed. And that moment is just so precious. We go to bed at night waiting for it almost. And then you realize that it's time to march on, and it's time to get to work. We put on the hard hat, and we roll up our sleeves, and we do whatever we can to change that, and to change the outcome that we and so many other families with this disease were told to expect.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think what really resonates for me about that is that there's this wishing and then there's the action, and you're doing both, right? You're doing the wishing, which everybody's doing. Everybody's wishing, right, for health and better health for children, especially with rare diseases. But you're getting up, you're taking action, and I think that's what's really important, because you've allowed yourself now to be found, right? You've allowed your organization to be found, other people in this predicament to be found. So let's talk a little bit about COVID-19. How has it impacted patient advocacy? How has it impacted your ability to continue to make progress on your mission?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's impacted our ability in the complete opposite way as it's impacted our children, right? And I have to say that two things. One is our community and our families are, I make a lot of noise, but behind every element and every ounce of progress is every single parent and family in our community. I mean, everyone has a skill set, and I say this all the time, is that everyone has a skill set that can make this all happen faster. And we're lucky to have a community of families that are willing to harness this skill set, whatever it may be, if it's, party planning, teaching, anything that one can do to support acceleration is huge. And our families are, we needed to drop a survey into our community. The researchers and the team running the natural history study wanted to know a little bit more about the seizures. So they made a seizure survey, and we put it into the community, hoping that people would ask, because we knew that we needed those data to really move things forward. We had 97% response rate in under 4 days. And to me, that is the sign of a community that will drop everything and do whatever has to happen. Because at the end of the day, you know what the best thing an advocate or anybody can do? Whatever you have to do to get treatment for the kids. And so
that is great.
Yeah, but the question you asked that I diverted from was, can you ask again? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was just curious how COVID-19 has.
COVID-19, yeah, of course. So COVID-19, I think, is a real opportunity. And there was a book that Jeremy Levin, who's the CEO of Ovid, the team that I worked on, put together with other leaders in the biotech industry about. It's called Biotechnology in the Time of COVID-19, and it is a great sort of Bible in looking at how I realized the science exists. My gosh, industry was able to do in just a few, while it happened way too late because of our administration and the leadership, but in weeks we were able to develop what certainly our foundation has been trying to do for 4 years, others for 50 years, right? And that's develop diagnostics and therapeutics and clinical trials. It took weeks. If the biotech industry mobilized, pivoted, focused resources, they were able to do all of what we're trying to do in a matter of weeks. So to me, what COVID-19 did for research was crystallize the fact that the science exists, that the people exist. We just need to figure out a way to harness it and focus it on our rare monogenetic disease and the myriad others that exist. And so to me, it was, in a time that is tragic and devastating, it was a real call to action that listen up, science. The capabilities are there, and we can now, if we can scale it and apply it to our rare disease. I'm constantly in fear right after that moment when I wake up and recognize that, today's the day that, we need to go find more people. Today's the day we need to have a breakthrough. I'm also, as the years go on or months go on, and as Susanna, her health changes every day, and so do the other kids, I'm constantly in fear that we're just a couple of months or a couple of years too far away to make this actually work for our kid. And that is the most crushing, moment of realization that I'm trying to really change. It's not just to find treatment for the disease. It's to find treatment for this generation right now.
Yes.
And if that science is out there and we can't, as a community, and when I say community, it's not just the patient community. The rare disease community is made up of researchers, biotech, industry, physicians, patients, advocates, caregivers. I think that when people say the patient community, it's a disservice, right? It's a rare disease community because if it's just the patients and if it's just biotech and if it's just policy, we're not going to accomplish anything. But if our community is one group of people trying to put a collective shoulder behind finding treatment for our kids, we're going to get there faster. So our community is made up of everybody. FDA, NIH has been incredibly helpful in all of this too. So it's
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And this came up in one of the previous live streams we did about breaking these silos, right? And really uniting the community, uniting the rare disease community. So Luke, we have a couple comments. One comment, one question I want to show you. So Angela Marie says, we are so thankful for Luke's actions every single day. So I would love for you to receive that.
Well, Angela Marie and your family. And these are people who are in the midst of, terror that I know are on there every day doing what they can to push and drive things. It's, this family is remarkable. So I am the thankful one for your, actions every single day. I just happen to be the guy who Sandra's kind enough to invite on to speak for our community. So thanks, Angela.
Thank you, Luke. And thank you, Angela. And then we have a question here from Dominique. What does a successful collaboration look like to you? Does this look different depending on the stakeholder involved, academic, industry, biotech, etc.? So I think you started talking a little bit about that, but maybe let's just go one teeny bit deeper into that. What does it look like to you?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dominique. That is a question that we are really answering with the help of, specifically right now, we're lucky enough to be working with the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative on their Rare as One program. And that you really do need to get rid of the noise and clear the pathway for a focused collaboration. And a successful collaboration is one that is open, is working together, is transparent but appropriate. And I mean, we understand that sometimes researchers and sometimes people who are working on treatments, for whatever reason, can't immediately share data, but they can share strategies, ideas, and tools, right? And if we have an ecosystem made up of the right people who are working for the right reasons, we're able to take those strategies and tools and pull them together and have a team of people that are working nonstop. We have these, and again, through the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, we were able to really mobilize these research roundtables. What research roundtables are is we have an amazing science communication director, and she is wonderful. What she has done is we pull together every single researcher who's working on KIF1A every month, and this last one was remarkable. We had around 20 different groups represented from multiple different countries, and present for a little bit on what they're doing and what their strategy is and how can it help, how can it move, how can it make a clinically significant difference, and how can it move the needle with treatment. So there are clinicians, researchers, and the foundation on there. And if you can take all of those different things, completely eliminate duplicative work because the people in the field are talking about what they're doing, and then creating a toolbox. And that toolbox exists and it contains, ideas, reagents, cell lines, what mouse models are out there, what strategies are happening. So these researchers can dip into it and say, okay, this is happening. I need to call this person to further this project. So it's that urgency and that collaboration. And it's never too early to involve every stakeholder. We need guidance from FDA right away if we're going to develop, appropriate tools to measure what an outcome measure looks like for us. We need, every single, I hate the word and the term basic science, right? Because we have basic scientists where there's nothing basic about this, because this is we need to understand the functionality We need to understand the structure of the gene, of the biology, in order to be able to move forward with translation. So, and I think ultimately it's when, we're at these research roundtables with all of these amazingly committed people, and the concept was, how do we put all of these brilliant minds into one room, lock the door, throw away the key, and say, come on out when you found a treatment, and COVID-19 actually kind of facilitated that in this weird way, where it was a Zoom where everyone's up there. And, at the end of the day, when I have Susanna on my lap, Kat has Parker on her lap, and it's all these researchers talking to us and the kids about these ideas, things move faster. So that's where patients and caregivers and foundations make things jazz up a little bit, is when there's a paper that is published saying these mutations cause this, and Susanna's mutation is P305L. Jericho's mutation is E235K, right? So if these papers are out there and these studies are out there naming these publications, what we do is we put a name to it. But it's not P305L, it's Sue's, it's Jericho, it's Parker, it's everybody, so we that makes these remarkable, committed researchers. We're so thankful to them and their accessibility. It's all about accessibility.
Thank you, Luke, for that. And thank you, Dominique, for the question. Great. So final question for you. Thank you, Luke. This has been amazing. So this is my final question. What is your biggest wish?
My biggest wish is that our children can lead a happy and healthy life and play together, and we can be there to see it. And that treatment comes in time for that, and that it is, as we grow old, we'll be able to sit there with the many scientists who helped us get there, the many people in every single element of this puzzle can sit with us, and we'll have a toast and look out at the yard and see our kids who once couldn't walk up there and enjoying life, smiling and being together because of all this work we're doing. So I wish our kids have health and happiness really soon. Yeah.
Great. So from my part, may your wish come true. And part of doing this today is to put it out there, right? So that hopefully we can make some difference in helping your organization get the resources, the attention that it needs in order to develop these treatments. Awesome, Sandra. Luke, it was so great to have you on this live stream. I really, really appreciate your insights and your comments. Thank you so much.
No, Sandra, thank you so much. I mean,
And why don't we end with this?
We'll get it, Luke. Thank you, Alejandro. Yes, we will, because of people like you all, and Sandra, thank you for what you do and having this platform and this awareness. It's vital, because this is a mountaintop that many can scream from, and I can't thank you enough for facilitating this and being that platform for us.
Yeah, truly my pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you who've been watching and sent us comments. The video will continue to be available on the adnexi.com website. Click on live stream, where we host all of the videos that we've done in the past with other advocates and researchers and workers, people who work in the biopharmaceutical industry. So thank you so much. Thank you, Luke. All the best to your family. And I'm going